Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated and silence all electronic devices. The ceremony will begin momentarily. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your narrator, Master Sergeant Jennifer Raymond, and on behalf of the Commander, 5th Operations Group, Colonel Scott Maytan, welcome to Minot Air Force Base and the 5th Operations Support Squadron Change of Command Ceremony. We are pleased that you're with us today to share in this moment as we bid farewell to Col John Cornett and welcome in a new leader, Lt Col Brad Haynes. Before we begin today's ceremony, I would like to take this opportunity to go over military protocol and ceremony etiquette. During the ceremony, you will be given cues on when to stand and when to be seated. This ceremony will be conducted as an indoor event. Therefore, all military personnel should remain uncovered and stand at the position of attention during the playing of the national anthem. We ask that our civilian guests join us in honoring our nation by standing with your right hand over your heart while the anthem is played. Additionally, all military personnel must stand at the position of attention during the presentation of the Meritorious Service Medal, the Change of Command, and the Air Force Song. Our ceremony today is a celebration of both continuity and change. Continuity, in the form of military tradition whose roots reach back through time to the legions of ancient Rome, to the passing of signets that once symbolized the transfer of command from one to another. Change, as this great command says farewell to an honored leader and welcomes his successor through a ceremony that differs only in style, not in substance. Once the members of the official party have taken their places, please remain standing for the presentation of our nation's colors by the Minot Air Force Base Honor Guard during the national anthem, and the invocation by Chaplain Major Ryan Boyle. Today, we are honored to have our special guests in attendance. Special guests of Lt Col John Cornett include his spouse, Lt Col Megan Cornett. Special guests of Lt Col Brad Haynes include his spouse, Chrissy. Distinguished guests in attendance include Commander, 5th Bomb Wing, Colonel Brad Cochran. Vice Commander, 5th Bomb Wing, Colonel Brian Vaughn. Command Chief, 5th Bomb Wing, Chief Master Sergeant, Chief Aaron McElroy. We would also like to welcome all other commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, friends, and members of the 5th Operations Support Squadron joining us virtually. At this time, we ask that you please stand for the arrival of the official party.
Hoist the colors.
5. Colors. Take hut. Right shoulder. Arms. Guys, ready. Cut. Forward. Hut. Code. Halt. Present. Arms.
Chaplain Boyle please come forward to offer the invocation?
Please join me in prayer. Almighty and ever-living God, we thank you for the countless blessings you have bestowed upon us as we serve our nation here at Minot Air Force Base. We give you thanks for Lieutenant Colonel Cornett's 2 years of dedicated service to you and to our country as commander of the 5th Operations Support Squadron, where he faithfully led over 190 men and women in the service and support of our nation's nuclear deterrence. We also thank you for Megan's caring support. We ask that you bless their transition as Lieutenant Colonel Cornett travels to our nation's capital to serve as a nuclear fellow in the Stimson Center. Lord, we also ask you to pour out your blessings on Lieutenant Colonel Haynes as he takes command. Grant him wisdom, courage, and strength, so that guided by you, O Lord, and always strengthened by Chrissy's love, he may faithfully and selflessly lead the Iron Men of the 5th Operations Support Squadron in the honorable pursuit of your peace. We ask all of this in your most holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Honor Guard and Chaplain Boyle. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce the commander, 5th Operations Group, Colonel Scott Maytan.
Is it safe to do this without a microphone to use?
Yes, sir. You're more than welcome to speak freely.
When we practiced this, we had good Minot winds going, so the mic wasn't given to this. All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. The 5th Operations Group has 2 missions. The first one is do whatever Colonel Cochran says. But more seriously, the mission of the 5th Operations Group is to fly B-52s and operate our nation's premier strategic airfield to deliver lethal effects, allowing us to win anywhere at any time. So I'm really excited today to be out here on the concrete that is at the center of everything that we do to achieve the boss's intent in our group's mission. We've had planes flying all week. They're going to keep flying next week. I think we're flying some jets today. We've got one of our right here. And this is the concrete where this Bomb Wings mission happens. So I'm just giddy. I just love it. I'm really excited to be here. I'm glad that you're all here with me. Chrissy, thank you for joining us today. It's so nice to have you. Lieutenant Colonel Cornett, there's something about running a mission support group, and you took a break from that to join us. Thank you for being here. This is a big day in our Cornett. Thank you. Colonel Cochran, Colonel Blond, Chief, really appreciate you making time out of your schedules to join us for this big event. Please extend a hearty OG welcome and hello to Keva and Meg and to Scotty. I know they'd be here if we didn't have safety protocols. Understand, really appreciate their friendship and their teamwork. Chaplain, sage words as always, thank you for that. So I told you that I'm grateful for today. Probably my biggest thanks needs to go to the OSS weather shop inside, because how about this? This is just unreal. I think I'm going to get some sunburn before we're done, but I'll take it. But within all of that gratitude, I spent a lot of time trying to put together my words for this morning. You know, how do you say everything and say it in a short amount of time? And I kept crossing stuff out, moving it around, putting this here and throwing this away. And at the end of the day, I said, you know what? I'm just thankful today. So we're just gonna talk about gratitude. There's 3 things that I'm thankful for, and so we're gonna hammer through those. So first of all, I want to talk about, I'm grateful for Lt Col John Cornett. He's a friend of mine. He's somebody that I've known for much of my career. He did an awful lot to prepare himself for this job, and then we'll talk a little bit about how this job went and what the OSS means to making Mike be able to execute for the boss. So Colonel Cornett is an officer with deep B-52 experience. He's served 2 tours now at Minot Air Force Base. He's got 1 very long tour at Barksdale Air Force Base. He's been all over where B-52s operate. He's deployed to all the places that we go. After time as a line operator, he was pulled early and he went to the 49th Test Squadron and he did test work. That's a pretty unusual job for a young EW to go do. And then out of that, he worked at an OSS as a captain, so he totally understands the craft of the OSS. He saw it firsthand as a young officer, and he came back to lead that. The Air Force likes to take its best folks and put them into leadership opportunities that are in the form of being an instructor. There's been an emphasis on that recently by our Chief of Staff. And one of the things that Colonel Cornett did when his time in the OSS was done is he went to the weapons school and he taught other aviators how to become better aviators. So that's really a mark of what the Air Force saw in him as an aviator, an officer, and a leader. And it continued to play out after that. He went to PME for us officers. If anybody's watching online, we call it Intermediate Developmental Education. And he went and he did that with the U.S. Army. It wasn't considered a joint assignment, but it certainly was joint exposure. It's very important to building his context as an officer. And that was key because right out of that, after some more PME, we sent him to the Pentagon and he worked on the joint staff. And not many officers get to go do joint staff assignments. That's another enormous feather in your cap. And what he did in that job was nothing less than directly advise senior leaders on nuclear matters. Sounds like pretty heady stuff to me. That's what Colonel Cornett did. When that was done, we brought him back here to Minot because all great roads lead back to Minot Air Force Base. And he was in the 69th Bomb Squadron DO for 2 years, where he fully got reinvested in operations and how we fly, the fly piece of this group's mission. And then he was ready to come over to the OSS, where we fly B-52s and we operate this nation's premier strategic airfield. Do it all in the OSS. So Colonel Cornett, I want to say thank you for spending a career getting yourself ready for this job. And then once you were in this job, spending the time and effort to make sure that it was successful. Squadron operations, they're the center of this ops group's operations. And this group has a key role in making sure that Colonel Cochran's mission succeeds. So I want to say thank you. Colonel Haynes, I want to say thank you to you. So, it's bittersweet, and it's a little bit dangerous letting all that experience dash out the door, right? But fortunately, we've got somebody else who's awesome, who's waiting right in the wings. So Colonel Haynes also brings deep B-52 experience to this B-52 OSS job. He started out flying the line at Barksdale, where he spent a lot of time. And just like Colonel Cornett, at some point, powers that be said he's really good at what he does, he's exemplary, we need to make him an instructor. And so he went over to the 11th Bomb Squadron, which is our other major school, and he taught new aviators how to become B-52 aviators. Every 3 or 4 months we get a wave of lieutenants and young captains into the bomb squadrons here at the base. They all come from the formal training unit, the 11th Bomb Squadron at Barksdale, where people like Colonel Haynes when he was a captain, and the captains today teach those young aviators how to fly this jet. So they're ready to come up and then learn how to be combat mission ready once we get them here in the field. It's a very important job. Thank you for doing that. And he did it really well. He did all of that really well. He did all of that so well that our MAGCOM, when it was pretty new, immediately came out with a program called an intern program. And Colonel Haynes, if you weren't in the first cadre, you were in one of the first cadres. Pretty impressive thing to put in your resume. And he was a Global Strike intern, and he worked in A1, where he learned all about our personnel system. Maybe not always the most exciting stuff, but those of us in senior leadership positions understand just how important it is to get the personnel piece. Do I have enough people? If I don't, how do I fix it? The people I have, are they being developed? Where do they go next? Who comes in behind? All of that is so important to make this mission be nonstop. Colonel Haynes spent a year and a half figuring out how all that works. From there, just like Colonel Cornett, we sent him to the Joint Staff because we sent our very best people to the Joint Staff. And he spent 2 years, just like Colonel Cornett had done, advising our senior leaders on all kinds of matters, to include nuclear matters. When you're a senior captain, maybe a brand new major, and you're telling the 4-star what he needs to think or say about nuclear operations, I think that's a lot of responsibility, and that says a lot about how you prepared yourself as an officer to be able to give advice that's listened to. Thank you for preparing yourself. Colonel Haynes jumped around a little bit after that. He went to PME, then he went back to the Pentagon, then he went back to PME, and then he showed up here at Minot, and following in Colonel Cornett's footsteps perhaps, we put him in the 69th Bomb Squadron, and he spent almost 2 years as the DO. And the squadron benefited from that continuity, number one, and they benefited from an experienced DO who got to take them out on deployment, which went a little bit longer than everybody expected, but we had the right officers in place to make sure that the morale stayed right, the mission stayed right, nobody missed a beat, and everybody came home safe and sound in the end. That's a tribute to your leadership. Thank you for that. And so from all of that, I'm not even batting an eye. You are ready to lead the Ironmen and be the 5 OSS commander. I'm excited about that. So thank you for preparing yourself. The third thing I'm grateful for in all that is the 5th Operations Support Squadron. What a phenomenal organization. You've already heard through the chaplain's words and a few of mine how central it is to the success of the operations group, which we all know, sir, is the key group to your wing. So we're really privileged to have all of the Ironmen do all the work they do every day for this group. Fly B-52s, operate the nation's premier strategic airfield. That's what this group does. That's what this squadron does. My group has 24 AFSCs. 20 of them are in the OSS. My group has, I think I figured this out, we've got 12 duty locations, and I think 8 of them are in the OSS. We've got folks all over the base because that's what it takes to operate the strategic airfield that we have. My group has about 350 airmen. It changes day to day. About 190 of them are in the OSS. That's over 50% of the folks in my group from one of my 4 organizations. The Ironmen swing big, and they pack a punch. From a heritage standpoint, they pack such a punch that most squadrons can trace their lineage back 30, 50, 80, 100 years. The OSS tracks its lineage back through 2 squadrons. The 5th Airdrome Squadron, which was stood up in November of 1942 and enabled combat operations just like we do here in the European theater for various airfields. And the 5th Operations Squadron, which stood up at Travis Air Force Base in 1952, helping to move a lot of equipment and material to the Pacific. We were fighting in Korea at the time. Through the years, squadrons stand up, they get deactivated, they get reactivated, all of that stuff happened. And then in 1991, when the Cold War ended, the 5th Operations Support Squadron, as we know it, became, and it was the fused legacy of 2 squadrons. So when we say you stand on the shoulders of giants, you do, giants being plural. We've got a lot of heroes from 2 different traditions that built this great tradition that is the 5th OSS. And it's a phenomenal tradition for almost 30 years now, making sure that we have nuclear deterrence and strategic bomber air power always on call, always effective, always ready. Through the post-Cold War, through some unhappy times in the early 2000s, through the wars in the Middle East, and today as we kind of get geared up again for peer competition, we've been talking about that's coming. That's a real thing. So I'm grateful to all the Ironmen across all the AFSCs and all the duty cycles that make sure that we always fly B-52s. We're always ready to operate this strategic airfield. I almost forgot, I have a couple of notes. Then I'll be done. But just to put in perspective what all that hard work is, because a lot of times we say thank you for your hard work and we kind of move on. In the last 2 years, here's just a few things that the Ironmen under Colonel Cornett's leadership have done. They've managed DoD's largest PCM account, $6 million, 9,000 items. By the way, we're not allowed to lose any of that. So no admin errors or the world ends. And the world hasn't ended. So thank you, diligent service. We executed 6 JIATF, Joint Interagency Task Force South missions. We fly these from time to time. We take a B-52 and we send it down into the Caribbean or near South America. And we help other agencies find the illegal drug flow that's coming into our country. Those 6 missions supporting other operations yielded 800 kilograms of illicit narcotics with a street value of about $24 million. So those are all drugs that never made it to our streets. Thank you, Iron. The Ironmen led the Operations Center during our MAGCOM's first ever nuclear generation with a concurrent conventional weapons training agenda. And they led the same Operations Center during our MAGCOM's first ever dual-wing no-notice generation that happened here last August, I think it was. By the way, our MAGCOM IG said perfect execution on that. So nice job. Nice job, Ironmen. Something called airfield construction's been going on off and on the last couple of years. And so the OSS had to coordinate the training requirements for 10 different squadrons for a $112 million project that's mainly on the MPA, but it's all over the place. We've had no hang-ups with our training or our ability to generate any of that stuff. So again, that's all on the Ironmen for getting that done. RAWs, the folks that make all the radar systems on this airfield work. The figured out a way to bring trainers here to do upgrade training for their folks. It saved about 2 man years worth of training and about $25,000 in TDY costs to get that done. And it sped up the qualifications of their folks. Great innovation, all under Colonel Cornett's leadership. And there was something about a nuclear surety inspection that was the best in the MAGCOM's history. And our 8th Air Force commander said something to the effect of, it's the cleanest report I've ever read. You don't see positive comments in nuclear inspection reports. You see flat comments or negative comments. We have positive comments. Can't even, to somebody who doesn't work in our business, I can't convey what that says about how awesome that inspection went. The OSS was running quarterback on a lot of that. While all that was going on, the Ironmen made sure that 11 wing exercises went off with a lot of flying, 8 weapon systems evals, 7 StratXs where we go test the President's command and control systems, 4 flag level exercises like a red flag or a green flag, 25 HHDs. We just had the big lift Monday. We flew the sorties. We're going to do that again in a week. That's what an HHD is, if you're not familiar. And all those generation exercises. And as I just alluded to, we've got a lot coming in the next week. So Colonel Haynes, really thankful that you're ready for all of that. So I think what I'm going to do right before I get off this stage is Colonel Haynes, because you're new to the squadron, you're just coming into this great Iron Man culture, I'm going to read you the description about what the Iron Man patch means. I think this is pretty interesting stuff. So the current 5th Operations Support Squadron patch was approved in December of '92. And there's a reason for everything in an Air Force patch. The OSS is no different. Here's what the description says. Blue and yellow are Air Force colors. Blue alludes to the sky, the primary theater of Air Force operations. Yellow refers to the sun and the excellence required of Air Force personnel. The Knight's helmet represents the warrior spirit of the Air Force combat units supported by the squadron. The crossed swords denote the team effort and support and operations functions of the unit. The winged star stands for aviation heritage and the unit's dedication to meet the high standards set by the predecessors. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you, Colonel Maytan. At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Cornett will receive the Meritorious Service Medal. Due to current social distancing procedures, his medal is on display on the table. Please stand for the presentation of the award. Attention to orders. Citation to accompany the award of the Meritorious Service Medal, 2nd Oak Leaf Cluster, to Lieutenant Colonel Cornett for his meritorious service from 1 September 2016 to 5 June 2020. Lieutenant Colonel John Cornett distinguished himself by the performance of outstanding service to the United States Air Force as Commander, 5th Operations Support Squadron, 5th Operations Group, 5th Bomb Wing, Minot Air Force Base, North Dakota. During this period, Colonel Cornett led the 5th Operations Support Squadron to unparalleled success while ensuring the 5th Bomb Wing's ability to provide immediate long-range precision strike operations. His leadership prowess was exhibited during the 5th Bomb Wing's 2019 nuclear surety inspection, which reviewed the squadron's $6.3 million positive control material program and found an unprecedented 0 deficiencies. Additionally, Colonel Cornett implemented a paradigm-shifting approach to dynamic force employment by planning the 5th Bomb Wing's first-ever austere bomber task force, which revolutionized extended deterrence operations and set the standard for Air Force Global Strike Command. Furthermore, Colonel Cornett supervised 6 joint interagency Task Force South missions that integrated the B-52 with the United States Coast Guard assets and resulted in the successful seizure of $24 million of narcotics. Finally, Colonel Cornett's leadership was vital in enabling 2 United States Indo-Pacific Command continuous bomber presence deployments, which set the record for the greatest number of higher headquarter directed missions executed for the longest strategic bomber deployment in Air Force history. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Cornett reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Colonel John Cornett.
So I'll change it up since I guess I couldn't pick it up on the Zoom for Colonel Maytan. So to start off, thank you Colonel Cochran and Colonel Blond for giving me this opportunity to command. Colonel Maytan, thanks for those words. Your guidance over the years. We've come a long way from that patch house back in Guam and one of the first CBP deployments. So, and that was over 15 years ago. So we've deployed together a few times and stayed in the same house together a few times. So. For all the guests that are here and watching, thank you. The last and most important, thank you, Megan, for being here and helping me guide me through this in our journey. Say it again, it is a day of gratitude. So thanks for the opportunity. It's been my pleasure to command this squadron of Ironmen and lead them through our many ups and downs that we've encountered over these couple of years. There are no words that can capture the special place in my heart for you guys. Over the past 2 years, Ironmen have grown a culture of people, family, and mission that we've tested through our extended deployments and all of our daily operations that you just heard about from Colonel Maytan. This culture will help you, Brad, as you assume command of the 5th OSS. Members of this squadron will take care of you as they did me. We learned a lot together over these couple of years. I know I left here a better leader and mentor for the knowledge that all of you Ironmen passed to me. I could not be more proud of this squadron. Brad, the Ironmen welcome you and Chrissy to the squadron today. Command is challenging but fun. Time. You could not be blessed with a better squadron of airmen. I've enjoyed every minute here, and I know you guys will too. Not only are you inheriting what I think is the best squadron, you're now also inheriting a family of other commanders around this base that will support you as you're here to get the job done. I'm going to leave you here with 2 quotes, so I pulled this out. The first from John Adams. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, and do more, and become more, you're a leader. The other is from Steve Jobs. Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. I think it's fitting for everything that we're going through and all the briefings and everything we've been hearing. So these 2 quotes are definitely from 2 different eras, but fit to the operations squadron's needs. Be like those 2 ducks as they navigated their way to success. I wish you and Chrissy the best and carry the Ironman forward in this tradition of excellence.
At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Evans, Operations Officer of the 5th Operations Support Squadron, would like to bid farewell to Lt Col Cornett by rendering him one last salute. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the official change of command. Attention to orders. Department of the Air Force, Headquarters, 5th Bomb Wing, Minot Air Force Base, North Dakota. Special Order G-20-5, dated 18 May 2020. By order of the Commander, Lt Col John W. Cornett will relinquish command to Lt Col Brad L. Haynes, 5th Operations Support Squadron, Minot Air Force Base, North Dakota, effective 5 June 2020. Signed, Colonel Scott H. Maytan. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the Commander, 5th Operations Support Squadron, Lt Col Brad Haynes.
Good morning. Thank you for being here and coming out. This change of command was not easy to coordinate or execute. I want to thank Captain Stosky, Master Sergeant Raymond, and the men and women of the 5th Operations Support for making this happen today. This opportunity to command
the Ironman is a great honor and humbling experience. Colonel Cochran, thank you for entrusting me in leading the best OSS in the Air Force. Colonel Vaughn, Chief, thank you for being here, and I appreciate your time. Chief Swanson, thank you for your time and your mentorship. Colonel Mantan, thank you for bestowing this opportunity on me to lead the Ironman and those great words that you have. Also, thank you to our distinguished guests, socially distanced and in attendance virtually. Everybody up on the top, thank you. To my family, Mom, Dad, thank you for teaching me to always have integrity, work hard and persevere. Sean, Troy, Blaine, my brothers, thank you for listening and always ready to help and lead. Chrissy, you've been there through this Air Force journey with me, and have been the most fantastic support and cheerleader I could ask for. Thank you for believing in me, encouraging me for my dreams every day. You are the best, and you are my world. Ladies and gentlemen, we are standing on the most strategic airfield in the world, with the greatest battleship ever created by humankind right here. This airfield supports 2 of the 3 legs of the nuclear triad, not just the bomber force, but also missile security. Without the dedication to these missions, our senior leaders would not have the tools available to them to continue this great nation. Minot is the first call and the last call. Lieutenant Colonel Cornett, Ironman, you have made this airfield and played beard around the world. Over your tenure, Colonel Cornett, you've been tested along the way with the Ironman and have aced this tour. I am so lucky to take command of this remarkable, hardened nuclear machine. Ironman, you are at the forefront of military operations and diplomacy around the world. You wake and have proficiency for breakfast, innovation for lunch, strategy for dinner, and to top it off, thermonuclear deterrence as a dessert. I cannot wait for you to show me how you do this. Ironman, you've been tested for years and trusted. We will be tested today, tomorrow, and into the future. Our business is to be vigilant, never resting on our laurels, helping each other to build relationships and provide national security and deterrence. Let us continue the greatness that you have made look so easy into the future. Thank you. Excalibur.
Off with their heads. Thank you, Colonel Haynes. At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Evans, Operations Officer for the 5th Operations Support Squadron, would like to welcome Colonel Haynes by rendering him a first salute. Next, the men and women of the 5th Operations Support Squadron would like to present flowers to Lieutenant Colonel Cornett and Mrs. Chrissy Haynes. However, due to current COVID conditions, we have to place the flowers at your chairs. Mrs. Cornett, please accept these flowers as a token of our appreciation, and we wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. Chrissy, please accept these flowers as we welcome you to the Excalibur family. We look forward to working with you while you're here. In keeping with Air Force tradition, we will conclude today's ceremony with the singing of the Air Force song. While it is customary for our Air Force members to stand, we invite all of our guests to join us in standing for the Air Force song, the departure of the official party, and special guests. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. Atta boys, give her the gun.
Give her the gun!
Down we dive, spouting our flames from under. Off with one hell of a roar. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Thank you for attending, and please join us in welcoming Lieutenant Colonel Haynes and his family to Team Minot.